one wouldn't work on that one. Okay, we're almost ready to start, guys. It's 5 o'clock right now. You're watching and listening to the UltraPerformShow. This is so cool.
Are we live?
We're live on four places. We have the potential of listening. I didn't tell you this.
Now, press 1 to hear important instructions.
But we have the potential to being viewed by at least 10,000 people.
Your show will go live.
So you better be really good.
I better be good.
3,
Okay.
2.
I'll put my good hat on. I'll not swear or anything. Maybe I
Okay,
should.
great. So, let me see. I think we're PG-13. So,
All right.
So we have to not swear.
Select a four-letter
It
word.
doesn't say shit. Yeah. So hey, you are watching and listening to the UltraPerformShow, the show about performing your best at business and life. And today is very special because one, we have Aaron Johnson here again. He's back. He's one of our sponsors of our show, the Shot Box. I finally used it last week, but I told him the truth. Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. Or was it this week? What day is
A
it?
couple days.
I don't even know.
Inside of a week.
I know. So the thing about entrepreneurs, you get working and working, and you're like, what day is it? What day is it, right?
And you don't like weekends sometimes, you know?
Well, I work.
Or they catch up.
Yeah, they catch up. Yeah, it's
Catch up.
great. So this is the first show ever that we are simulcasting on Facebook Live, on Twitter Live, on Instagram Live, and on YouTube Live. And we are also live on our podcast. You can find us at blogtalkradio.com/ultralife or type in ultralife into podcast. That was the formerly we were named Ultralife, but now it's UltraPerform, which is the same as my company, UltraPerform. We have products that kick butt. And we have a product called Kick Butt actually. So today we have Aaron here, Aaron Johnson. He's a 27-year serial entrepreneur. He'll be discussing idea development, what it takes, the funding food chain. He sees himself as a right brain curator. Right? I got it right this time.
Yeah.
I kept saying, what did I keep saying? This is how the show goes.
Yeah. I don't remember. I must not have been listening.
It doesn't matter. He has run and funded several successful businesses. He has also done successful Kickstarter campaigns. And his product, the Shop Box, is a product that is needed and critical for personal and family history preservation. And he really believes in this because every time I talk to this guy, he keeps telling me the same thing about that. That's like his biggest thing. I'm like saying sell it to the people that are going to use it like this.
And
you're about saving families' history.
I'll sell it to whoever wants to buy it.
There you go. He sees it as one disaster and one generation away from massive loss of physical material all over the planet and how he can help. Thank you for being on the show, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're making history today.
Yeah.
Four social medias
Simulcasting.
we're live, simulcasting, right?
Impressive.
Takes an Egyptian to do stuff like this, right? So, tell us a little bit, when you say serial entrepreneur, what do you mean by that and what are you doing?
You know, I left...
what have you done, too?
At age 22 or 23, I left full-time employment at a software company in Utah called WordPerfect. Back in the day, it was one of the players, and I remember my mom looking at me, and I was living at her house at the time, so this is probably why she looked at me this way. Is like, are you kidding? You're leaving a job. In my mind, it was like, of course, I have opportunities, and I'm finally so busy.
Now, WordPerfect was the opportunity?
No, WordPerfect was my
You're
job.
leaving, it was
It
your
was my job. So I was working there, but I was working on the side, trying to get a few things to stick all the way, for years. So finally had enough, I'd work all day, WordPerfect, go home and work for another full time, at least 8 hours at home every day. So it's putting in basically, of course, long days, and all entrepreneurs do. And So I kind of got to that point where I had enough
Successful
opportunity.
entrepreneurs do that.
I think it all do, at least for a period of time.
Yeah, for a
Right.
period of time, right?
I-
You can only, to get to the 4-hour work week, you have to work a lot.
I look at that 4-hour work week, and I think there's a 4-hour span of every week that I absolutely detest. It's the paperwork,
Oh, I
the
hate that.
crap, and all that stuff, and that's the
Yeah.
thing, that right brain creator, whether there is a right brain or left brain, I've read different things on that they say there is none, but really to define the creative side of everybody and the analytical side, right? And I tend to love that creative side more and spend a lot of time there in creating ideas and concepts, but that 4 hours is tremendously painful, and everything else, to me is creation. So I don't even consider work. So I think 4-hour work week is kind of perceptual, right? 4 hours is the stuff you don't want to be doing. Everything else that I want to be doing anyway.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it.
So you left your job, sorry I interrupted you, but I'll do it again.
Do it.
You left your job at WordPerfect, and what did you start?
So I was working on, at the time, it was in the 90s, and I was digitizing clip art. I had artists that would draw in the craft industry. They're great artists, but they were just doing kind of black and white and copybooks, and rubber stamps and stickers and things like that. And I would take particularly one artist's stuff and I would computerize it, I'd digitize it, and nobody was teaching how to do this, and I optimized the clip art, and then we put it on floppy disks at the time. That I had disc duplicators on my kitchen table, or my mom's kitchen table, it wasn't even my kitchen table, and I had my 4-year-old kid pushing buttons to duplicate these little floppy disks. But anyway, that was a turnkey solution for an artist that I would take her stuff and make it so people could use it on the computer. And that was consuming me enough, and she was really good at sales, so it just kind of pulled me into starting my own full time. That was the ticket.
Great. And did you leave WordPerfect and start working hard right away?
Yeah, I mean, obviously now I had, the full 16-hour whatever day that I could dedicate just to, with my own paycheck. I've never.
But did you do that? What I mean is, did you do that? Was the transition easy for you to, I don't know what you did at WordPerfect, but from assuming you were going from 40 hours to 60, did you do it that way, or what did you do?
Yeah, I don't know. You don't count time. I don't think. I think if you get wrapped up in a business, you just kind of want to work whenever you can, and so you lose track of time. So morning, night. I'm a night guy too, so I would usually do my best work from 10 to 2 or 3. But I'm getting older. I can't do that as much anymore. So
I've been up since 4.
There you go. So are you a morning person?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I see you running in the hills and stuff. And that's morning people stuff.
I do it whenever. It's harder to run on a trail in the dark because you can fall and kill yourself with weight especially. But sometimes I've gone on the asphalt because there's asphalt that goes up to City Creek. But I go whenever. Sometimes I'll go for lunch. Just depends.
So you're a night person too. Then you're just up early.
I'm more of a night person. I was up when the clock hits me to wake up at 4 a.m. I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and then I'll work on my book.
No, that's good.
That's the time to have more creative.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it is that I'm undisturbed. There's no one texting or calling or things like that.
Productive hours. That's when it happens. Yeah, exactly.
So, how many successful businesses have you started, and what made them successful?
Yeah, just there's a feeling in an entrepreneur that is like it's only a matter of time before it'll break open. It's kind of hard to describe feeling that you say I'm working towards something, I'm working towards success, and what success is can be defined by different people and what that means, but. Really, to me, it means that when are you self-sustaining? When are you making a living, at least, and so you don't have to go get a job. But then, you want a certain level of, hey, I sold something. I have money in the bank. Maybe it's millions for some people and a couple $100,000 or whatever for somebody else or something. But you kind of try to build it so it can have value and so you can at least benefit from it. So that feeling is pretty powerful when you're driving all these hours, you know. I remember a quote that kept me, pushed me through a lot of all-nighters. It says, successful people do what unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. And I remember quoting that in my head, you know, in 6, 7 a.m. and I hadn't been to sleep forever, and he goes, this is what it takes, you know. And
it really does. It's really what it takes.
And I don't know of any business owner in my circle that hasn't paid the dues in that way. This whole overnight success, it takes 20 years to be
overnight
success.
That's right, right? Oh my God, that just happened for you? Yeah, I've been working on it 10 years, man. You're doing $50,000 in sales? Yeah, but it took 8 years to do that, you know.
And it
didn't just happen. It was just one customer, though. Yeah, but the things I had to do for that customer to see me is things you have to learn.
You got to build it piece by piece, brick by brick. And I don't feel there's not an easy way. You gotta put the time and the effort and the brain power and the thoughts and everything into it. You gotta get lucky a little bit here and there. And by luck, I mean work until something breaks, you know. Luck isn't sitting back in your home dreaming it. You know, if you're gonna go out and put this all on your own shoulders, you gotta get up every day and pound on it. One way or another, you gotta get out there. And then luck happens, you know.
What do you do about dealing with disappointment?
I'm a silver lining kind of guy. You know, it's like everything has a takeaway. I've had my ups, I've had my downs, I've had my very large successes, and I've had my very large failures. And even the failures I look at and I go, I'm going to take away from this why. You know, we all like to know why, but more than why, it's there to build, you know, yourself and build what you're doing. And that's kind of where this path has been painful. It's been exhilarating. But at the end of where you're at right here, right now, right today, sitting with Adam on his show, going places, then that's all that really matters if you're going and you're still pointing the right direction. Maybe, you know, baby stepping sometimes. Well, there's that picture, you know, that says, here's what people think, you know, success is, and it's a straight line up. And then he goes, here's what it's really like. It's a spaghetti bowl. There's truth to that. That's
kind of how it is.
It's unbelievably hard at times. Unbelievably hard. You know that. Put all the pieces together.
I didn't tell you I'd ask you this, but what is the most fulfilling, successful moment you've had in business doing all this?
Oh, wow. I'm going to say two things. One is when I sold my first company for $120,000 and I was 23, and that was a great feeling. You know, I built up something. Yeah, there we go. Little taste, and I splurged and I got LASIK eye surgery.
Nice.
At the time, it was like $4,000 or something. So I pulled off a little bit and paid, and that was life changing. It's amazing to me how you can fix eyesight. So to me, that was kind of that first bit that's, I mean, even now, you know, great eyesight. So anyway, that was actually kind of that first little taste. I then took about 15 years and built a great lifestyle business. We were doing a few $1 million a year, able to pull out, you know, pretty good income, and we could tweak it, we could adjust it, we could make more if we wanted to. And that was great, but it was a lifestyle business. I didn't really understand at the time the difference between a lifestyle and an acquisitionable company, or what it means to try to be bought and, you know.
So when you say lifestyle, what do you mean by that?
Means that you're doing something, maybe it's service-based, but you're not really, nobody out there is wanting to buy you and buy for your business. You're just making a living doing your business. And you can make a really good living with a lifestyle business. But investors aren't going to come and invest in your lifestyle. That's why it's called that. Like, you might get some friendly money coming in, but an investor wants to get 10 or 20 or 100 times back on their money. And they don't do that way.
Now, why so much? Because that's a lot more than a CD nowadays.
Well, the risk.
It's a lot more.
Yeah. Anywhere from 70 to 90% of startups fail. So they got to get that to make up for all the failure ones. That's their mindset. And it's true. It really is.
So what do you mean by right brain creator?
you know, it's that thought. I mean, what are you thinking when you're not really focused on thinking, right? I'm always kind of thinking of the ideas and a little bit more of the abstract. And I like to think through, you know, there is a problem, you know, what is the tool? It could be physical or software, it could be a service kind of thing. What is the tool to address and create that product, you know? So I think right brain are thinkers, and I'm kind of introvert. I'm not really shy, I'm just very introverted. And going through that process of saying, well, where is all those things coming from? And I'm you know, I'm an idea guy, but an idea to creation is a process. So I think that's where it's at. Left brain might be more analytical, more technical, more detail oriented. That's not my strength. No, no, not at all.
Yeah, mine is, so I'm able to do both, like you are too, you have to.
You have to put on a hat. Yeah,
it's
good
those
enough.
4 hours of like, oh, I hate doing this. Fill out, they sent me, I'm like this, they sent me a form? No!
Well, when you don't have anybody else to do it,
You have to do it,
it's
yeah.
all on you. So you wear the hats you have to.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm right now CEO of my company. Well, I don't feel like I want to be a CEO, or maybe I'm not CEO material for a larger company. I don't want to be. But you have to wear that hat. If you own it, you wear everything.
Mm-hmm.
You clean the toilets all the way up to, you know, doing some big deals.
By the way, before you go, the toilet needs some cleaning.
You're the owner, man.
Well, you said you're willing to do it.
I was saying for your own stuff. Yeah.
So tell us.
You're willing to do what it takes. That's
Yeah,
what I mean.
that's true. So tell us about the financial food chain. What do you mean by that? What it takes, you were saying.
Yeah, I think this is where the rubber hits the road with saying, you know, there's so many, two things happen. Like a lot of people have ideas. They have, oh, I have a great idea. Well, how, right? An idea to, you know, an empty field that you can plant and grow from, a creator is pretty rare, in my opinion, you know. And it's okay. There's people that, you know, need a job and work really well in whatever position or they've gone to school for. But when you're dealing with saying, I got something, and to bring it to life takes money, period. It needs fuel. So there's something that I feel like we could probably learn more of as entrepreneurs or people that think of, you know, what to do and what to go into business is how you get the money. And so there's a thing called 5 F's. And traditionally, you can kind of look it up, and there's 5 F's. And I've increased that
It's
to
not all
7.
the same word with
No,
X
5,
with it, right?
so 5, yeah, not probably, yeah. Some days.
Yeah.
But it stands for founders. So where does the money come from in a financial food chain? Well, it comes from founders, right? It comes from family, right? You're going to go ask whoever in your family. It comes from fools, because only fools really invest in startups is kind of the...
Yeah, it's kind of a lame thing to say.
But it's kind of
Define
true.
and
Right?
fools. Well,
And
it's a risk thing.
It's huge,
I'd
right?
rather say that someone that's willing to take a risk.
Yeah. So that's kind of the joke. But and then it's former friends is the 5 F's. That's what makes it up. And they start out as friends. Former friends. Yeah. So that's the typical when it's brought up is what the 5 F's are.
Yeah.
So I've added 2 because I think these are relevant to anybody out there that are hey, I got a great idea, I want to bring it to life, and you know you have what it takes. You want to put your heart and soul into it, and everything you got into it. So there's 2 other F's that we need to recognize and actually apply. One I call a frenzy, and the frenzy is new. It's the crowd. It's the Kickstarter. It's the Indiegogo. It's the what's called crowdfunding, even though it's not really funding, it's pre-sale. But that's frenzy. There's so much work involved with kickstarting anything. It's consuming.
Next subject. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a segue right there. That's what's on the channel. And they're not easy, and there's so many Kickstarter campaigns out there. They're just lost in the crowd. And the dynamic of running a successful campaign is getting more and more complicated and difficult. But it's there. And to get money for an idea, you know, and get to a certain point where you kind of prove the idea is cool, and if it's the right kind of idea, and you put it out there in front of people, they go, oh, I'll pledge money so you can actually develop that. You don't have a product yet. That's new. That's really cool. You know, and have a crowd do that. Have thousands of people around the world doing that is a really awesome tool. It's a millennial-based tool because this Kickstarter kind of came out of this generation, the millennial generation. the way they think and the way they look at it. And yeah, I'll help, I'll pledge. You can take my money, to do something I do. I do definitely want something in return. They're liking the gadget that they're putting money. They're not investing in the business in an equitable sense, but so that can't be overlooked. How to bring a little bit of money in to an idea. And the seventh is financing, literally going into debt for it. Credit cards, obviously borrowing loans and stuff like that. So that's an unhealthy way of doing it, but it's there. And I've done all of those. All of them, plus probably a few more. So yeah,
a few more we can't talk about on public radio and show.
No, without indicting myself. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's just important when you're looking at what does it take. You have to have money for everything from license fees to patents. If you have an idea that needs to be protected. Equipment, cells, computers, phones, everything it takes, all the expenses of running a business just continually, every day, every month are there. Membership fees,
stuff.
Takes money.
It does, for sure. So tell us about your current project, what you're doing now, and just real quick, everyone, I will take a look and see if there's any questions, because I see some people commenting. We'll try to take questions at the end, so if you're still there, we'll answer them either way, and I'll answer them by comments if you're not there anymore. Okay.
Cool.
So tell us about your current project.
So I've gone through a couple iterations of businesses. The next one, you asked me this question, I never really answer it, but I was able to sell a company in 2007 to a venture capital firm for a good chunk of money. It was definitely on top of the world. So when you're talking about kind of those successes, that was big. It was 10 years ago. Ended up working for that company for a couple of years, and then we turned it again. So there was another event, but that's what you work for. That's that. How long did that take me to get there? About 15, 16 years. Before a cash event happened, really, that was significant. So that was number 2, because you asked for 2.
I asked for 1.
Oh, I thought you said 2. I can give you more. Yeah. So kind of after that process and saying, well, what do I want to do next? What do I want to do now? And I cleared the table and I cleared the whiteboard and I just stared at it long enough until passion set in to say this is what I want to do. And to a degree, I'm not old, but I'm not young. I got a lot of life left in me, but what is it that I want to do the rest of my life? What's my life work now? That's going to be a criteria to say, what am I building? Maybe it's a little legacy based, maybe it's, enjoyment obviously, but what is the value of a product? Not just to make money, but what needs to exist, because it doesn't exist, that I could do within my reach, within my skill set. And that's an important question, because you want to start out doing something that you feel you have the ability and capability of finishing. But what that means to me, I'm coming out of that scrapbooking and craft industry. It's always based on memory and based upon photos and albums and things that we take and capture the memory so we can remember it later. And I realized more and more that there's not an easier way than just a scanner to digitize. And so, especially, the problem exists in scrapbook pages. Scrapbooks are 12 by 12, so they don't fit on a normal scanner bed. Yet they're oftentimes the most valuable thing in the home, are the photos and the albums and the scanners or the journals and all of those kind of things.
I never thought about that, because I keep thinking products. I can stick my products in.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Things I want to sell.
Well, there's so many there's so many purposes to a shop box that it fits within a lot of individual needs. It could be object photography for products. It could be, or collections or hobbies or something like that. Yeah, for sure. And it takes 3-dimensional stage basically that you take and use any camera, your cell phone camera, DSLR. But it turns any consumer into professional level photography, just like for you and your products. So that's one mode. It's one application of the product. But what I've done is introduced top-down photography, where you're just taking a stable environment, putting your phone or your camera on top and shooting basically the floor. So you're taking a picture of pictures, in a sense. And that 12 by 12 now, you know, your camera can capture the whole size. And the relevancy of that is up until this point, there hasn't been an easy way to actually digitize these oversized books. And there's a massive amount of these in every home. Every household has a history, it's kind of my tagline, and we're having a hard time getting that activated. All these boxes, and it may not be every single home has a lot of stuff, but when somebody dies, when you know, a parent or a grandparent, where does all that stuff go? And it usually kind of disperses into the kids, but I kind of feel a lot of the times it sort of comes to one or two of them, and that's me. You know, I have closets and shelf full of family history stuff. It's very valuable to me and my family, but it's sitting in a shelf at risk because there's only one copy. My siblings can't enjoy it. They don't see it. Maybe they don't even know it exists. So it's a shame if that stuff just eventually fades away.
You know, my experience has been is that I've lost some stuff because my dad was dealing with his illness, and I wish we started 10 years ago. That way we'd have it before his illness set in and he wasn't able to direct or allow or whatever story was coming up that day.
And that's so critical. I kind of use the little story that when you know, when the house is burning down, what do you get out first? And you get out the kids, right? You get out your photos, your albums, the stuff that matters that way, and then you get out your husband. So if he's lucky enough, right? The dog, the pets might come first.
Nice.
It's true, you know, nobody really can, but there's a relevancy and it illustrates how important that stuff is to us. But one fire, one flood, and you look at all the disasters this year, millions of records, millions of photos, millions of stories are gone. And those are life stories, right? And I think there's a part of each of us that when we journal, it may not be that we want it to be read in our lifetime, you know, it's a little too private, but we're doing it for a reason, right? You're writing a story for a kid or a grandkid or somebody, you know, in general terms that otherwise why would you really save it and write it, but it matters. So to me, I'm driven by that knowledge and need that there's so much stuff out there that isn't digitized yet, and scanning is simply horrible. It's time consuming, a light bar going back and forth, or it's really expensive to get fast scanners and sheet fed stuff. So what I set out to do is using a cell phone, you know, just
Can
simply...
you show us real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think everyone can see.
Yeah,
I think so.
so the box right behind the computer, they're kind of looking at how that's gonna line it out. You can see it though. Ta-da! Kinda. So creating a balanced, oh man.
Killing the product.
Killing. So creating a balanced environment, you know, that you can actually, I don't know if you can see that, maybe not.
You can just ignore that.
Yeah. Is for a three-dimensional photography, you're just taking pictures inside of a mini stage, like a photographer would have a studio. This is basically a little studio. But the other way of doing it is with your phone. You know, when you're doing it that way, you're putting your phone here and taking a picture straight in. You know, of that object.
Don't take one of my phones.
There we go. Yeah, that's right. The other mode is to go straight down from on top. There's holes in the top of the shot box you can't really see. You're putting your photos and your scrapbook and your pages down here and just simply pushing a button to take a picture. Got that?
One of them. We'll take one of them over. The one that we can take.
Oh, I got you. The one. So you kind of see the different holes up here on top, and then you can take a picture of whatever's down below. So introducing what I call flat photography. But by doing that, you're pushing a button and getting a full, oversized document in a second, or in an instant.
Well, why does it work so well? Because I was surprised when I finally used it and took a picture of my product. I was surprised how good it was. And I have hired professional photographers, and I've done I'm like, I'm paying for this crap? I guess I'll take it because I need it now and I had to go with it.
It's just control light. I mean, really what we're doing, and you kind of see on there, it's just the fill light is balanced and it's full. You don't have to deal with shadows and time of day or night. You don't have generally lights really penetrating into this because it's such a powerful light inside. So really all you're doing is saying you're taking out all the elements. There's 4 elements of a good photo, light being potentially the most important. You can't FUD bad light, you know, if you need it. So lighting, you got hardware, which is the device, the camera, the phone. Software, which it comes into play when you're doing a pre-edit or a post-edit or just the settings on the phone or the camera. And the 4th is the user themselves, their knowledge, their ability, their abilities with the tools. So you take those 4 and light, you can't ignore. So you gotta have,
We're ignoring it a little bit today during this show because there's so many points of view, but.
Yeah, there you go. So that is the basis. It's fairly simple technology, but it marries with the cameras on our phones now are crazy good. You know, they're just getting better. So we're taking advantage of that.
Every time I upgrade, I can only one of them are the top of the line ones, but it's amazing. I took a picture. I'm like, whoa, that's almost too good. You know, I don't want to see that much detail.
Well, and then you can, again, that editing factor of effects and it's fun because everything can be done right there on the device, you know. Very rarely would, unless you're a photographer and you want to and you know what you're doing, you know, take it into Photoshop.
Well, thank you for being on the show. I'm going to pop over here and see if we have any questions on here. Let's see. None there. There's a bunch of comments here. Struggling is real, Katie said. Way to go, guys. Hey guys, hey Anna, hey Joy. Lots of people on here. No questions though.
Which one's that? Is that Facebook?
This one's Facebook. This one's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube Live. All right, well, that's it. Anything you'd like to say? How do you go to Shopbox?
Shotbox.me is our website, so www.shotbox.me.
Okay, great. So the dot.
We look for it on Amazon. Just search for Shotbox on Amazon.
Shotbox. SHOTPBOX.
Yep.
That's my second language coming in sometime. All right, guys. Thank you for listening and watching the UltraPerform Show, the show about performing your best at business and life. You'll be able to click on most of these feeds and find Aaron, send him a message if you'd like. And also, you can go buy his Shopbox, as we said, at shopbox.me or on Amazon. Remember, our show is UltraPerform, and it's you can go to ultraperformshow.com and find us there. You can also find us on Twitter under Mr. Wow. You can find us on Facebook Live under UltraPerform Show or Ultra Life. You can find us on Instagram under my name, Adam Tajadine, which if you're watching, then you know where to find us. And you can find us on YouTube Live, YouTube under the UltraPerform Inc. INC channel. Thank you guys for listening and watching to the UltraPerform Show. It's great to have you, and it'll take me a second just to wrap everything up. See you guys. Thanks for watching our first YouTube show.